This is Johnny Prime with me, Ernest Kojo Manu. Coming up in the next 60 minutes, debate on the 2023 budget kicks off in earnest in Parliament, with minority describing the budget as a hopeless one that introduces 23 new taxes, which will worsen the plight of Ghanaians.
Until yesterday, the Black Stars of Ghana has given some temporary hope to a very hopeless situation. The Speaker, the mood in this House would tell you how hopeless the nation has become.
We have details as government fights back, insisting the budget would turn around the country's fortunes, calling on the NDC MPs to support in approving the measures.
That is why there is a need to raise some form of taxes to support our fiscal consolidation. And I'm therefore urging my colleagues on the other side to support government with its current revenue measures before the House, as listed in paragraphs 215 to 222, like I mentioned earlier.
Also tonight, National Service Scheme Secretariat begins investigations into the conduct of its Ashanti Regional Director after he verbally assaulted a nurse at Menchia Government Hospital over a disagreement with his daughter on housemanship there. We have more as the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association rejects his apology as it threatens to strike after 72 hours if he is not sacked. We'll also speak to the Ashanti Regional Medical Association president. Coming up later here on Johnny Prime, traders whose shops have been gutted by fire want an end to this annual ritual and are calling on government to make good on its promise to recoup their investment from the previous infernos.
President said,
Secretary of the Ashanti Regional Council of Elders investigates committee defense reports that found many of the party's regional executive compromised by the NPP ahead of the 2020 elections.
I am saying confidently that Ofosu Ampofo is not fit to lead the NDC again, based on his action.
Hello again, my name is Ernest Kojo Manu. Let's settle for the details now. The National Service Secretariat is assuring the public of its commitment to get this issue involving the Ashanti Regional Director of the NSS, Alex Opoku-Mensah, and the nursing fraternity resolved for the unfortunate altercation at the Menchia Hospital. According to the service, they have invited the officer for preliminary investigations into the incident. We'll hear shortly from the NSS on this matter and bring you details of their statement. But first, listen to the alleged voice recording of Alex Opoku-Mensah engaged in that hot exchange with a nurse at the Menchia Hospital.
And you talk to that brutally on phone. How come you guys that?
You said what she told you.
You have exhibited. You have exhibited your behavior.
You told me I envy her.
Yes.
For what reason?
Because you are envy her.
For what reason? I envy her for what reason? Am I not a man?
No. Where your nurse? Where your doctor? Where your doctor?
Why the
Are you a doctor?
I didn't say I didn't say
Is she accountable to you? Is she accountable to you? Learn to. Who are you? Who the only time I teach him is
So that is the audio there of Mr. Opoku-Mensah and that hot exchange with the nurse at the Menchia Hospital. And there have been several accounts of this story. You might have seen some on social media. But John News has been finding out exactly what happened. My colleague Erastus Azaridonko has the details.
Is a senior house officer, started his house job on the 1st of November, almost 1 month with the Menchia Hospital as we speak. This issue we are talking about happened on Sunday. You know, he was starting his night cover with the hospital, which ends at 8 a.m. And had informed the ward in charge that because he had wanted to attend to some church activity, he wanted to do the ward rounds early so he can go to church. Receiving persistent calls from the nurse in question. And when she responded to the call, the issue was that she had prescribed some IV fluid and paracetamol which was not available on the night shift. And so, per the system that they were running at Dementia Government Hospital, it wasn't possible for any other doctor to change the medication. She had to assist them change the medication. And that is why the nurse was calling her to come over to the hospital to make that change. But then she had reported the matter. She said she was not happy with the way the nurse spoke to her on phone. So reported the matter to the father, who stormed the hospital to, I don't know, try to put the nurse in her right position. And so what you hear in the audio there is the father who had stormed the ward and was trying to put her in her right place, according to what happened. Now, what we are learning now is that management has met both parties, both individually and then collectively. They have listened to them both. The doctor in question has apologized to the nurse for her father's behavior. And the management has decided that the nurses are saying they are not happy with her and they cannot work with her. It looks like tensions are high. And so they've asked her to at least stay home in the interim for tempers to die down before she can come back when they have already spoken with the nurse and tempers have gotten down. She can resume her duties. Okay. So that is where we are at the moment.
My colleague Urasa Cesare Donko there with details of what exactly transpired. Let me now bring you details of that statement released by the National Service Secretariat today. It says the attention of management of the National Service Scheme has been drawn to the unfortunate happening at the Mensia Hospital involving Mr. Alex Opoku-Mensah, the Ashanti Regional Director of the scheme and a member of staff of the hospital. The management has since the development invited the officer for preliminary investigations into the incident. The management of the scheme regrets this unfortunate incident and wishes to reiterate its commitment and assurances to the public and the nursing fraternity of our dedication to get the matter resolved. The public will be updated accordingly. The Ghana Nurses and Midwives Association has also waded into this. They say they are giving government 72 hours to relieve the NSS boss of his duty, else they will lay down their tools. Let's hear from Perpetual Ofori, who is the president of the association.
He had absolutely no right to enter the facility and do what he did, and he is not fit to be a director in the Ashanti region. He should be removed immediately. And as an association, having deliberated on this issue extensively, we have also given timelines. And we have said within 72 hours, we expect the Public Services Commission and government, for that matter, to be removed. And without which we are going to direct Mensia District Hospital, where our nurses and midwives are working, to lay down their tools. If we still do not get a response, the whole Ashanti region is going to lay down their tools. And if we don't hear anything, we are going to take it up nationally, the whole nation, because this is an insult to us as nurses and midwives. Look, we are breaking our backs, working in very difficult situations, and we don't need this. We don't need this. The regional director of the National Service Scheme, in the person of Mr. Alex Opoku-Mensah, should have known better. As a director, he should have known that for a facility such as the hospital, there is definitely a leader in place, and that is the medical soup. There's also a nurse manager in place. He should have known where to direct his concerns or his complaints, and had no right to press in that way that he did.
Well, the man who is at the center of this, Alex Opoku-Mensah, has apologized for his action and has given assurances the incident will not recur, he wrote on his Facebook page. He says, I understand the disappointment and appreciate the inconvenience my action has caused the general public as well as the nursing fraternity and Mensia Hospital. This has never been my style, but for a genuine reason to mediate a persistent issue between my daughter and a colleague nurse who I as well consider my daughter. It goes on to say, I do apologize for any mishap and assure all there shall be a repetition of such acts. There shall be no repetition of such acts. I look forward to maintaining a cordial relationship between any affected person. Best regards, Opoku Mensah, NSS Director, Ashanti Region. Now, efforts to reach Mr. Opoku Mensah for his side of the story, details of it, has proved futile. We'll bring you that and more when we get him on the line. But right now, let's go to Zoom and speak to Dr. Pakwesi Bedu. He's the Ashanti Regional President of the Ghana Medical Association. Mr. Bedu, thank you very much for your time here on Joy News Prime. So this is your member who is on housemanship, who is at the center of this issue, whose father is alleged to have assaulted this nurse involved. What is the association's position on this?
Good evening to you, good evening to my brother. It came as a surprise to us. In fact, when I saw this on Facebook and other social media indicating that it was like there is a war between doctors and nurses, people insulting doctors for wrong prescription and all that. But indeed, if you ask David, we have been collaborating, in fact, since Perpetua and their administration took over, the Ghana Medical Association and then the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwife Association. We've been collaborating in all aspects of healthcare, and they will attest to that. And there's never been any tension between us. We also have laid down procedures for resolving these issues. This is a human institution. We encounter such cases on daily basis, but we have chain of commands. So we don't condone a father going into a facility, whether a father or a stranger, or for that matter, anybody going to a facility, not even the president of the country, entering a facility to assault verbally or physically, even the least person in the institution. But that is also not without saying that what's brought about all these, the reason why we are coming in as an association, and for which Ghanaians have had a field day, you saw somebody wrote a prescription, and I think we'll be seeking legal redress on this, indicating that the doctor doesn't know what she is about and wrote a wrong medication. And it's, I think your station, Joy News, or one of your multimedia stations took that up, and that was your caption. The doctor, as your correspondent Erastus has adduced to, never wrote any wrongful medication. In fact, all that she wrote was an IV infusion and paracetamol, which was not in the hospital. And it is not the doctor's duty to make sure this is there or that is not there. And people were saying there is cover up. If you ask David, with the system we are operating now, anything you enter into the system is there. Nobody can go back and change it. Okay? So we have channels. Yes, you call the person to come and change the medication. That's the rightful thing to do. I hear the person, after calling severally, cut the call on her. But we still have chain of command for reporting these issues. Right. So once again, we will not condone it. But we want to place on record that the media houses, including your house, should remove that caption that the doctor was corrected for writing a wrongful medication. That is and has never been the situation. Well,
as you heard Erastus' report there, Dr. Pakwesi, we have actually put that information out since 10 a.m. To correct the misinformation there. And so we have done just that, due diligence. But the issue about your member, the doctor in question, I believe that you've sought some brief from her, and what is going to happen professionally as a body?
You see, don't let the sins of the father be visited on the daughter. The father is a whole director of a national service scheme. And you see, Ghanaians feel entitled. He's been made a director of a scheme, so he thinks he's above everybody. And that is why we are where we are. Once again, we are not. The Ghana Medical Association is not the spokespersons for the father. is the daughter who is our colleague, and we are defending the integrity of our colleague. In that people assassinated her character, indicating she knows next to nothing and all manner of comments. The father can be dealt with as an individual who is recognized under the constitution of the country. And the Nurses Association can take whatever decision they want to. We support it.
Yes, and Dr. Bedu, just
our colleague out of this.
Yes, and just briefly, because time is not on our side, just clear for us. Professionally, there's no negligence, there's no form of error, nothing of the sort has happened. Just clear that for us.
Negligence as in, I write a medication, IV fluids, which we give on the surgical ward. The person never wrote IV diazepam. IV diazepam is a sedative, and if that is, David will attest to it. If you give even more than 20 milligram IV, the person can go into respiratory arrest, and our doctor knows it and never wrote anything. And the reason why we said we'll be seeking legal redress is to find out who put out that false prescription just to tarnish the name of the doctor and that of Ghanaian doctors.
Right.
I don't think our colleague nurse might have done it, and that's why we'll be investigating.
Very well.
The doctor, David, will attest, and your colleague journalist also went and ascertained, and it's indeed on our system. There was nowhere she wrote anything untoward, and for which reason any unprofessionalism can be attributed to her.
Very well. Please hold it there for me. Let me get Dr. David Tinkran, who is the General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association. Dr. Tinkran, can you corroborate the account given to us by Dr. Bedu?
All right. Good evening and to your viewers, and good evening to Dr. Bedu. Yes, at no point have we in Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association posited that the doctor was negligent of duty. Our position has been very clear and unambiguous from day one that our beef is with the father,
right,
who demonstrated certain uncouth behavior towards a professional nurse. So the account that, or the rendition that was given rightly by Dr. Bedu is correct. And I since the morning, wherever I've been interviewed, I've told them variously that it is a prescription policy that, so to speak, led to the fuse, but it wasn't like a wrong medication that has been prescribed by a doctor. But that is not where our
yes, to where your focus is. Mr. Opoku-Mensah has apologized. Have you seen his apology?
So please, we don't want to have a banter between doctors and nurses. We have had very excellent relationship.
Not at all, Mr. Tinkran. And because of time, I want us to focus on what your issue is. You want some action taken against Mr. Opoku-Mensah. And I'm just finding out from you, he's apologized. We've seen the NSS release a statement saying they have invited him for preliminary investigations. Does that suffice for you? And are you willing to let it pass?
Not at all. I mean, his apology is inadequate, is hollow, is impenitent as far as some of us are concerned. I mean, he didn't show any remorsefulness. I mean, it was just as if he was playing with words. What we are demanding is very simple, and we haven't shifted our position at all. And I thank Dr. Bedu for making it clear that we have had excellent relationship with them. We don't want to do anything to destroy that relationship that we have had. And I don't want us to reduce this conversation to between doctors and nurses and all that. We have a way of addressing our issues. Healthcare is a multidisciplinary team, and everybody knows what is expected of him or her within the continuum. And we continue to work in that close collaboration. But our position hasn't changed. We think that the man he's not fit for purpose. He doesn't deserve to be in that position. So long as nurses are going to do national service in that region, he is not fit to occupy that position. And our position hasn't changed, irrespective of whatever statement that has been issued by the scheme. The scheme has every right to go through the administrative procedures to discipline their subjects, and we are for it. But
Dr. Tinkran, you are willing to visit the sins, so to speak, of one person on the entire nation, simply because somebody has failed to act professionally, a public officer. You're willing to lay down your tools within 72 hours if he's not removed from office. Isn't that taking it too far?
When you see two people fighting, what you need to ask is that what happened yesterday? Mostly, that's what we see. 2 years ago, a nurse was clapped to death in Ashanti region. Asewia, an innocent community health nurse was clapped to death. So we are not taking this lying low at all. We want to be proactive. We don't want to be reactive. That is why we will not sit up for anybody to threaten any member of our association. Under no circumstance must the man take the laws into his own hands. He has no right whatsoever to do what he did. It's so dastardly an act that nobody should endorse it. By now, I really expect that the gender ministry should even wade into this matter and bring this gross disrespect that he has shown to nurses to bear. So
we'll have to leave it here because of time, and we'll monitor what will become of the investigations by the National Service Scheme. Let's do some other stories now. The Greater Accra region's foremost used clothing hub has yet again been ravaged by fire. After an 8-hour battle, personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service finally managed to overcome the raging inferno that has gutted over 200 shops at Kantamanto, which is popularly known for second-hand clothing in the central business district of Accra. Joining us is Michael Ashale, who's been at the scene all morning, files this report.
The fire started at 4 a.m. Tuesday morning, destroying more than 200 stalls. After more than 8 hours and the efforts of 9 water tenders, the Ghana National Fire Service managed to douse the fire, but the damage had already been done. These are supposed to be raw beans, but now half-baked by the raging fire here. That happened some hours ago. It comes from a shop that belonged to Sandra and her mother. She tells me how difficult it is even trying to salvage what's left of this particular shop.
It was 55 bags. 5 bags is 1,500. Then the 50 bag one is 920 cedis. So what we had is less than 10 bags input. Now it's half up. You have to be collecting it as we are doing here before we get that.
A very difficult moment. So what are you going to do with what you get from here?
There's nothing you can do again. This is what they say. You can't use it for anything. They can only give it to those animals who eat beans. That's all. Nothing else. Nothing else.
Oh, please, what's your name?
My name is Sandra Humata. My mom is patient and Humata.
Some more affected shop owners spoke to Joy News.
Baby, no Mrs. Otim in chance on your ma. Baby, Nina shit, Nene sack. Said the I had the baby crying and your boa. A be a 40, be a 50. She said, dear, a strap band so on no me a cran as I said, dear Cantamanto for. And you know, a jay here to your papa, and your some catua. Lord, I'm Yakwaji, me Yakwaji low, and your dear Juma. No man in Nana, Shannon, your bed and your alone, Sikama.
Nini Nashi, Yehunia, Sikasu, Yaya Mobo, and Chebia, near my baby school, near Sunday school fees, Yabaya day, and say Abaya Srow, one way a mobile. No man, no way a cacra. If you say any baby, I echo.
Interior Minister Ambrose Derry led a government delegation on behalf of President Akufo-Addo to assess the situation and promised to provide more for the affected traders.
First of all, I want to commiserate with them on this opportunity. First of all, I sent my men, fire service, the police, and not more to come and see what is happening. So right now, what I want to encourage them is that they should be cool. We would move them. A bus will come and move them to police station. First of all, to get a record of them, and the psychologist will talk to them. It's not an arrest. So, but for now, I want to encourage them that they should not be discouraged. They should cooperate with the security agencies here, and God would help us help them. My president, Ernest Kojo Manu, is outside the country, but he's called me to come here and make sure that I'm in touch with them. So they should be patient, and we'll deal with the matter. What about the report I get? I'll send it up to the president, and we'll tell you what we will do.
Nearly 2 years ago, some of the traders lost their investment in a similar situation when fire gutted their shops. Although they submitted their names, they are yet to be compensated. This time, they want government to make good of their promise.
If you're I see, and then brother say, yeah, and then so I see. Yes, President said, on no more here, no more, I can say, the more dear papa.
National PRO of the Ghana National Fire Service, Assistant Chief Fire Officer ACFO Timothy Osafo Efum says investigations have commenced into the incident to determine the root cause.
And we rushed and got here within 6 minutes. There were no other access to inside of the market itself. And so we had to couple a lot of hoses before we could get to the scene to fight the fire. So I think that is one. And congestion was also another. So these are the two factors that impeded smooth firefighting. As it stands now, we've not been able to come up with any cause of fire yet. So the investigators are still on the ground working hard to see what can be done.
Meanwhile, the fire service uncovered 3 of their hydrants that had been illegally sealed by residents and in some situations built upon without recourse to the law. ACFO Timothy Osafo Efum says the service is utterly gutted by the situation.
Now, I have always been saying that in firefighting, availability of adequate, constant flow of water is about 60% of the job that is done. This is an area that belongs to the city authorities. And so I am surprised why a building has been put on a fire hydrant. How can a developer develop on a hydrant?
Although many people managed to salvage some of their items from the inferno, others lost millions of Ghana cedis. They are asking government to honor its promise by extending help to them. For Joy News, Michael Ashale.
Watching Joy News Prime with me, Ernest Kojo. Still to come, debate on the 2023 budget kicks off in Parliament, with the minority describing the budget as hopeless, introducing 23 new taxes.
Until yesterday, the Black Stars of Ghana has given some temporary hope to a very hopeless situation. Mr. Speaker, the mood in this House could tell you how hopeless the nation has become.
But the majority disagrees. We'll bring you that full report and also find out how safe are your investments. We'll hear from CEO of Data Bank after this break. Please stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us here on Joy News Prime. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission is assuring the investing public that all fund management companies are in good standing and there's therefore no cause for alarm. SEC recently directed all market operators to use the mark-to-market valuation method in the valuation of investment assets or securities and portfolios in the securities sector. The directive is to provide consistency in the valuation of assets and portfolios in the securities industry, as well as protect investors, especially investors of collective investment schemes. Joining us via Zoom is the CEO of Data Bank, Kojo Manu. Mr. Manu, I'm grateful that you could join us here on Joy News Prime. So for those who are watching us now who are skeptical about happenings in the financial market, what is the evidence that their investments are safe? Mr. Manu, you have to unmute for us.
Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So maybe what I'm saying is that I may not be able to speak for the entire industry because per my information, there are 83 collective investment schemes or mutual fund companies. So I can speak specifically to us, but I can speak also maybe to the big firms within the industry. The thing is that majority of us, for the fixed income market, for the fixed income mutual funds, our investments, or Data Bank specifically, our investments are largely in Government of Ghana securities. Now, it's a fact that Government of Ghana has not yet ever defaulted in the payment. So for as long as you know that you invested in a Data Bank collective investment scheme or a Data Bank mutual fund scheme like Fund, where the 99% of the funds are invested in Government of Ghana securities, you're safe. I don't see what we haven't invested in some crazy derivative or in some fancy derivative somewhere that makes it risky, so to speak. All the investment is in a Government of Ghana security. 1-year bond, 2-year bond, 5-year bond, 10-year bond, 15-year bond. That is where the investment lies.
Right.
So for as long as the underlying security is concerned, it's safe.
Right.
I don't see why there's all this hue and cry.
The other issue, I guess, has to do with how their monies are performing, the investment, how it's doing.
The valuation. Okay.
Exactly. Which is
yes,
what I
valuation.
guess many are concerned about, and it's causing them to run to the companies demanding their monies. And definitely, depending on what the market looks like, the worth of your investment may change. A little bit of education on that so that people may not have
brilliant.
to rush.
And the purpose of this interview is to educate. So what it is that over the years, I mean, I'll use MFund and I'll stick to DataBank in the entire 20-year history of DataBank Plus or of MFund Plus. We haven't seen this kind of situation within the bond market. Indeed, when MFund started, there was even no secondary bond market. I mean, the secondary bond market just got developed recently in the last few years, where now you could, the government could issue long-term bonds, it could be traded and all. It's always been stable. We've not had this situation where the price of bonds have suddenly dropped so drastically in such a short time. And I always link it to going into the normal market where, and I use tomatoes a lot because tomatoes is one of the products in the market that sees a lot of fluctuation. Today, the price of tomatoes is so high, the next day it just drops drastically. We haven't seen that in the fixed income market. And unfortunately, this time round, even though we have bought, Government of Ghana securities and we had bought it at certain prices, suddenly the prices have dropped so drastically overnight, in such a short period that you were holding a bond at a certain price.
Right.
You were, under normal circumstances, you will expect that it will mature and then maybe the fund manager will sell you, get your money. But the prices have dropped so drastically that if we go now out to the market to try and sell it, we will get a loss, and that loss, unfortunately, has to be passed to the portfolio. That is the situation we find ourselves.
So I am better off keeping my money at this point, for better times.
Absolutely. Why are you trying to crystallize? I mean, for want of a better word, why do you want to crystallize the loss? So you bought at face value, the value of your investment was 2 cedis. Right now in the market, it is 1.5. If you go insisting that sell for me, you are crystallizing that 1.5 loss. That means that 0.5 loss. Why don't you wait? We are all unsure. The market is uncertain. There's a lot of negotiations going on. Budget negotiations are going on. IMF negotiations are going on. We are all expecting the economy to come. If you don't really need it, why don't you just take your time, stay calm, stay invested, and then we see what goes on.
I'm grateful that you could join us, and we'll have a lot more conversation about this in our subsequent programs and bulletins. That's Kojo Manu, CEO of DataBank. The debate of the 2023 budget statement delivered to Parliament just last week has kicked off in Parliament with a fierce, debate on the floor by the minority MPs as well as the majority, making forceful presentations. Even before the first argument will be made, the minority described the budget as one that is hopeless and attempted to arrest the debate, insisting that the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, should be present in the House. Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante has the rest of the story in this report.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, who has traveled to Germany on an official visit, was required, according to the NDC MPs.
So you can't just come and move the motion and you are not there. Remember, we are in a critical stage as a country, and members have researched. Over the weekend, we were all in. You took us there. You gave us technical insight and guidance. Members are prepared to make their input. And Mr. Speaker, it is only appropriate that the Finance Minister must be here. Mr. Speaker, if he's not ready to do the job, he must let the House know.
The matter raised by the Deputy Whip on the minority side is very grave, Mr. Speaker. This attitude is becoming too much. Mr. Speaker, the practice where ministers of finance present budget and fail to collect input should not be entertained. It is becoming too much from this finance minister. You don't just present a budget and travel abroad or go and sit in your office. The Speaker, we cannot accept this. He should come before we start the debate.
The Constitution does not say that anywhere.
The Speaker, however, ruled that he had been made aware of the minister's travel. The minority then kickstarted their debate, describing government economic policies as hopeless and one which will worsen the economic situation of Ghanaians. Ranking member on the Finance Committee, Dr. Kisela Toforsen, described the 23 taxes introduced in the budget as killer taxes, insisting there is nothing inspirational about the budget presented by the minister.
Until yesterday, the Black Stars of Ghana has given some temporary hope to a very hopeless situation. The Speaker, the mood in this House could tell you how hopeless the nation has become. The Speaker, if you go out there, the mood on the street of Ghana will tell you that there's hopelessness. There's a massive, massive cost of living crisis as we find ourselves. The Speaker, it will surprise you to know that marriages are collapsing because of this government. Marriages are collapsing because cost of living is becoming so high. The Speaker, that is where we found ourselves. The Speaker, businesses are collapsing. Our debt is currently unsustainable. The Speaker, this budget introduced 23 tax measures. 23 tax measures, the Speaker.
But Deputy Finance Minister Abino Siasari fought back.
The 2023 budget has been formed or prepared in some certain context. And the context is that we are faced with both difficult global and domestic challenges. We also have an ongoing IMF negotiation.
For tonight, we have more stories on myjoyonline.com, but you can wait for Beverly. She'll bring you some more in business, including the budget, what's been happening there. And just remember, the investments are also safe. My name is Ernest Kojo Manu.